All right, welcome back. So this is session 3, avoiding the induction traps. And what you're going to learn if you pay attention to what's in this training is you're going to avoid a C-section. You're going to avoid more unnecessary pain and trauma in your birth experience. And you're going to avoid your natural birth plan being derailed. Because the truth is that we have an induction epidemic in our society and in our medical culture that if you aren't clear on those red flags to watch out for, and you aren't clear on how true natural birth actually works and how your body works and what your baby is really doing in those last few weeks, then you could easily get pushed into an induction or do things during your last few weeks of pregnancy that makes it more likely that you go past your due date, in which case you get even more pressure from the medical system and you're constantly fighting an uphill battle. This is going to help you avoid that. Okay, so I just want to be very clear about that. If you have been following the rest of the Empowered Birth Workshop, remember the most important piece is getting past your fear, and fear of something bad happening, fear of more pain in your birth, fear of the C-section often is what leads moms into choosing induction. And I'm going to show you in this session basically why all of that is a myth, why it actually puts you into the induction traps so that you can see that and get out of it and avoid that induction in the first place. And if you already had a traumatic induction and you're trying to avoid another one, this is going to also help you understand why you got tricked the first time so you don't fall into those same mistakes. So, why do so many moms start out planning a natural birth, but then they end up throwing the birth plan out the window? Like, this is the same question I've been asking all through the Empowered Birth Workshop, but you really need to understand this. In this class, what we're going to explore is the 3 big reasons why you don't want to induce, aside from the risk of C-section and pain, the 3 big induction traps that you want to avoid. And I'm going to also tell you the truth about due dates. Because the real reason natural birth is so hard to get is because you are falling into those induction traps. So, why do so many moms get tricked into the induction in the first place? Well, you were taught that you won't go into labor on your own. What this basically looks like is you've got pressure to show signs of labor before labor actually starts. You have pressure to get things going at the end of your pregnancy because you don't want to go overdue. So you're told to go for walks, you're told to do the mile circuit, you're told to start using the evening primrose oil, start to use the red raspberry leaf tea, start having sex, acupuncture, acupressure, all of those things. You're basically told, oh, well, I'm at the end of my pregnancy, so how do I get myself into labor? And then the other thing is you're put on an arbitrary timeline for labor to start, either through the birth culture that we live in, but also through the medical system. And your own deep intuition and feeling that something is off or that you're actually fine are completely overruled in favor of the medical system guidelines and protocols. So this looks like when people say, oh, you have low fluid, we need to induce you. Oh, you have too much fluid, we need to induce you. Oh, your baby's too big, we need to induce you. Your baby's too small, we need to induce you. You're going past your due date, we need to induce you. You're not showing signs of labor progress, we need to induce you. And so on and so forth. Now, the reason why you want to wait for labor to start is because your baby is perfecting 3 very crucial systems. Now, I talked about this earlier when I was talking about true natural birth, and I told you that the baby actually starts the labor process by having a protein in their lungs called surfactant, which coats the alveoli inside the lungs to allow them to start to open and inflate and get ready to breathe from the outside air. Because remember, your baby is encased in amniotic fluid for the entire duration of your pregnancy. They are not breathing. This is why the idea of the cord around the neck and saying that, oh, the baby can't breathe. No, that's not actually what's going on. If, however, the cord is compressed and pinched as the baby is coming out, maybe because baby is in a bad position or the cushion of fluid is gone because somebody broke your waters, then that actually restricts blood flow, which is the oxygen that your baby is taking in. So in the final weeks of pregnancy, what is happening is your baby is transitioning to get to the outside world. So their respiratory system is the very last thing to develop, but they also need to have their nervous system and their digestive system. You need to have their nervous system developed so that they can have those reflexes, the step reflex, for instance, which I talked about in the True Natural Birth 101 module, telling you that baby needs to be able to step and move and massage your uterus, and that's how it helps them contract. It also helps with them being able to have the rooting reflex that allows them to seek out the nipple. If they don't have those reflexes yet because they're premature, even if they're 37, 38 weeks, but they needed more time, but they were taken early before those nervous system reflexes could develop, then that can lead to breastfeeding issues. The other thing is that they are also not used to being on the outside. They're going to cry more. If they also have not had their digestive system fully developed, then they do not have the ability to take in the breast milk and have it work properly. So they're going to be constipated. They're going to have the issues with colic. If they have had formula, it's going to be even harder on their stomach than it already would have been if they had been born full term. And the fact is that you want them to have their full digestive system and their microbiome ready for the outside world. You want to have their nervous system developed so that they are able to regulate themselves. They're able to regulate their temperature. They're able to regulate their sleep patterns. So they'll actually sleep better for you. And also to be able to get into that ability of breastfeeding and having those reflexes. It's really important for them to have those reflexes. The startle reflex will actually allow them to wake up and be like, oh, I'm awake for a second, and then they go back to sleep. If they don't have that startle reflex, that is when problems can develop. And if their respiratory system isn't developed, you also have to recognize that that can lead to breathing issues, that can lead to asthma, that can even lead to them having an inability to actually breathe and regulate their breathing properly. And this is unfortunately when we have issues of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. So you really want to recognize that the last step is the respiratory system. Your baby needs to be able to have that surfactant coating the lungs, which then irritates the uterus and signals, okay, baby is now finally ready for the outside world. Now, if you induce and baby's not ready to come, this can then lead to complications. This can lead to issues with your baby. This can lead to you also getting a C-section because your baby was not ready and your body was not ready. So before we go any deeper into this session, I just wanted to remind you that you can pause these videos, you can take a break, you can watch them in succession, you can go through your workbook, but I also have a deeper dive here. So I included a bonus guide. It's one of the ones that I also have in my extras. When it comes to my book, Your Empowered Birth, I have it on my website. But if you don't already have that, you do have an extra copy of this guide. I've included it with this training. And it's 8 critical questions you want to ask before you agree to induction, because there's things that you're going to want to question before you even agree. This isn't the questions you ask the doctor. This is the questions you ask yourself. So just make sure that you also have this guide, that you're looking through it. If you've lost it for any reason, or it got deleted, or you can't find it, just reach out to me or my team, hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com. And one of us or myself will support you to make sure that you have this guide. Okay? And I will see you in the next session.